an All-NBA player. Me, of course. First of all, that game was a couple months ago. We won, and I dropped about 16, so I played well. But I didn't even want to take that shot, so it's not my fault. On the car ride to the game, my boy Thomas, my teammate, said, yo, what if you started the game shooting an insanely deep three? He's like, you should do it. I bet you won't. And I had no intentions to do it. But after we won the jump ball and I was walking down the court, I heard his little voice in the back of my head saying, shoot it. So I did, and that's exactly what happened. But anyways, we here doing something different today. I don't want to spam the Damian Lillard Miami Heat talk, even though I know that's what brings in views. But I'm here for y'all, here to try something fun. And I also want to prove to y'all that my hoop knowledge extends beyond the Miami Heat. So I want to show that to all the new subscribers that are here too. But anyways, the games are pretty self-explanatory, so let's get into it. I do want to clarify, I'm not quite going for rarity score. I'm more so going for speed. Otherwise, these games would be, or these videos would be 2 hours long. But if I think of two guys, I'll try to pick the more rare one. So immediately we see the 76ers and the Phoenix Suns. And of course, the first guy that comes to mind is Charles Barkley, who I debate whether I'm a fan of or not. He's very funny on Inside the NBA often, but he also says some really dumb stuff against my team. Sometimes good. He'll guarantee we lose and we stay winning, but he even said some Bill Simmons type thing the other day about how Dame shouldn't sit out or Portland should keep him. Some dumb crap like that. If y'all haven't seen my Bill Simmons video, go check that out right here. But yeah, I go back and forth whether I like them, and the rarity scores aren't even loading. So anyways, we got the Clippers and the 76ers. The first guy I think of is Tobias over me. But wait a minute. Who was always his running mate there that probably has a higher rarity score than the heaviest guy in the NBA next to Zion, which is something I always felt crazy because Boban, I get it. You a big boy. You like 7'4". Zion is like 6'6" and weighs almost as much, which is crazy. I don't know why the rarity scores aren't loading, but I'm sure. Whoa, stop the video. I see you ain't subscribed yet. That's crazy. Nah, but for real, go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like if you enjoy. Really got a dream to do this full time one day, and it helps your boy out a lot. Thank you. He is not all that high. Portland and 76ers. Immediately, I think of two guys that I want on this team, Joel Embiid and Damian Lillard. Dame, who will be here, and Embiid, who just had the quotes today saying that he might want to win a championship somewhere other than Philly. But I actually thought of someone that played for both teams, and that would be Evan Turner, the guy who I associate with the giant cap spike of 2016 or whenever it was, got paid a ton of money and obviously didn't necessarily live up to it. But he was a great player in his time, has an awesome podcast, was a very good player for the Philly back in the day. And I remember when the Pacers signed him, that was back in the Big Three rival days with Miami, and I was terrified. And I remember that's when Charles Barkley actually said, I know Turner's good, but don't sleep on Lavoy Allen. If you know, you know. I'm disappointed we get a Timberwolves one because that team is boring. So is Detroit for that matter. Sorry if there's any of those fans watching. But I did think of a name of a guy that I really like in Josh Okogie. He's a Heat culture type player. That play he had last year where he blocked the guy at the top of the key, snatch blocked it and dunked it. That's one of the most phenomenal plays I've ever seen. He's a really, really good player. I'm a big fan of his. Minnesota and Clippers. I'm thinking of a guy who I actually think might be on the coaching staff now, but he definitely played for both teams. That is the most beautiful man in the NBA, Sam Cassell. I don't know why I had to add that in there. I do love Sam Cassell, though. He was on those Houston Rockets teams, the 93-94 championship teams with my favorite guy, Hakeem Olajuwon right here. If y'all never saw, I got the pop socket. No, not the pop socket. The pop socket is the phone thing, the Funko Pop. And I love favorite player of all time, Hakeem Olajuwon. Really love those teams. Portland and Minnesota. I'm thinking back. Nobody currently on Minnesota. The Jimmy Butler era, though, had Robert Covington. And I remember because he was traded to Portland for like 2 first-round picks, and then they let him go like a year later for pennies on the dollar. And I remember because I started thinking about how the Trailblazers screwed over Damian Lillard and never brought him in any talent. It's because they were making dumb moves like that. Detroit and Phoenix Suns. Somebody that they just had recently would be Josh Jackson. I don't like throwing around the term bust because these guys are all way more successful than me, but you see when the guy's picture just says Josh Jackson headshot, that tells you everything you need to know. Really a guy all the talent in the world out of Kansas, but never really just got anything to work out. Pistons and Clippers. I guess we can go with Tobias for this one. Tobias Harris over me. I'm going to think about him like that for the rest of my life. Jimmy Butler snatched his soul and his profile picture apparently, but Tobias is a good dude. Like he's a good player too, and he's one of those guys that has gotten better every single year. Obviously, he doesn't have as big a role now as he once had, but he's still a pretty decent player. Last one here, Pistons and Portland. Another guy that's had a lot of ties to the Miami Heat, Jeremy Grant, who is now a very, very rich man. He'd be awesome in Miami too. He would be everything that we need. Switchy four. He's a mid rebounder, but he could help the scoring load on Jimmy. But I'm not paying him $160 million, and I'm glad about it. For some reason, it doesn't show our rarity score for anybody except for these two, but I think we did relatively decent. Outside of Charles Barkley, I guess, and probably Jeremy Grant are pretty high, but 9 for 9. Let's move into our next game, which is HoopGrids. I actually got that one pretty fast. Sometimes I got to think about it for a very long time. But let's start with the All-NBAs because I think that'll be the easier ones. For the Hornets, we got our guy, Alonzo Mourning, I believe. No. Interesting. Well, how about our other guy, LaMelo? No, I'm just kidding. Anyone who thinks of LaMelo immediately when thinking the Hornets does not know ball. I'm thinking of our other dog whose jersey should be retired by the Miami Heat, Glenn Rice. And yes, we do, with a rarity score of sub 15, which I think is decent. I don't really know. Bulls are all NBA. Of course, there's a lot of guys we can go with here. Try to pick someone a little different. We'll go with Joakim Noah, a guy that I absolutely hated my entire life. But that's because he used to kill my team. And I always said back in the Big 3 days, if there was anybody in the league I could have on my squad, that's the guy I wanted. He would have been the epitome of perfection with regards to fit, next to Braun, Wade, and Bosh. And he was a good player for a long time, but never changed his game, and his career ended a little bit short. Portland, they have an All-NBA player on their roster currently, but not for long. But we're going to go with Bill Walton anyways, just because he is very funny on TV. He is a giant partaker of the marijuana, which is not something I do, but shout out to him for enjoying his life. We'll start with the Magic and the Blazers. No, we won't, because I can't think of anyone. This one is easy. They just had the Vucevic trade, so instead of Vooch, we'll go with Wendell Carter Jr. And Bulls and Rockets is also easy, because he also played with my guy Hakeem Olajuwon, Scottie Pippen, and he played with Charles Barkley on that ultimate washed up squad. That was the KG Paul Pierce Brooklyn Nets before the KG Paul Pierce Brooklyn Nets. That Hakeem squad was a little bit better, but regardless, those guys were a little bit past their prime. I'm not gonna lie, these four, nobody's coming to mind though. I'm gonna need to take some time for this one. Okay, it's been a few minutes. Super Mario Hezonja, another guy that I thought had all the potential in the world, but it seemed like it didn't really work out for maybe off the court issues based off stuff I heard, but he had some run with the Knicks too, and he blocked LeBron, and all of New York loved him for like a week. But he's not as good as a lot of people certainly thought they would. Certainly thought he would be. And I also thought of Robert Covington just now for this one. He does fit there as well because he was in Houston. Robert Covington's another guy that I would have liked on the Heat. I feel like I've said that a lot this video, but any of those 3-and-D guys are guys that I really, really like in this system. Just the way Spoelstra runs things with his motion offense and switchy defense. These are all guys that would be perfect for that. These last two, I'm going to think about for a long time. So I will cut. And hopefully I don't spend less than 25 minutes thinking about it. Okay, this one took me about 4 minutes. Courtney Lee is a guy that I absolutely despised for the longest time because in a playoff series versus the Heat, he had this crazy offensive rebound in like game 5 or 6 that forced it to the game 6 or 7 that killed us. And the Hornets ended up getting a really big shot out of it. And I don't even remember the details. I just know it's implanted in the back of my brain that stings me when I hear the name Courtney Lee. And if you're a Heat fan, you probably remember it too. Good player, though. I think he went to the finals with the Magic probably in 2009. I'm not sure if he was on the team or not, but still really good shooter, a solid rebounder for his position. we got Courtney Lee. The Houston Rockets Hornets one. I was at that game 7, now that I think about it. The one with that Heat Hornet. That was a D-Wade purple shirt guy, game 6. So that's what happened. I think the Hornets went up 3-2, and then you had D-Wade purple shirt guy game 6, and then game 7, I was at that game. They blew him out. Goran Dragic had like 25. That's right. That's what happened. Rockets and Hornets. Who else is on the Hornets? Josh McRoberts was there. He was nothing like that. I feel like Gerald Henderson. Did Gerald Henderson play for the Rockets? No. I don't think they got anyone currently on the Kemba squads. I don't think so. What about the Bobcats? Like Desanga Diop? I don't know. I'm just tossing names out there. DJ Augustine definitely played for the Rockets at the end of his career. I don't know how long it was, but he definitely got there as we finished with a rarity score of 141. Is that good? I don't really know. I mean, we got all sub 25s this outside of Scottie Pippen, so I feel like that's pretty good. But yeah, let me know what y'all get down below. The next game we're gonna go to is Poeltl. If y'all don't know, this is like Wordle, but with Poeltl. And I used to play this on TikTok every day. My TikTok is just Anthony DiNardo. I really just post clips over there now. But I used to play Poeltl every day about a year ago. Got a bunch of followers, but I just got tired of doing it, so I stopped. But I'm back here again today for the return. Still returned before Derrick Rose. That was one of my favorite jokes back in the day. We're going to start with Tyler Herro. A lot of news about him lately, just about which team is going to accept him in the third-team deal for Damian Lillard. And I want to have a video about that, hopefully later this week. But we get Tyler Herro, so it's going to be a guard in the West. And because the 6'5" is not yellow, it means that they're at least 6'8" or taller. What kind of guard? And they're very young. So it's a freak. Who's a freak out West? I know who gets freaky out West. Zion Williamson. But that's not the kind of freaky we're talking about. Of course, we're talking about Josh Giddey, who has to be it. And if not, I'm confused. And it's Josh Giddey. Bang. Light work. That's probably a really easy one. I bet you, especially if we were able to look at the silhouette. I guess we can't do that anymore. That would have been super easy to tell. I love Josh Giddey though, man. The dude can literally do everything. I remember there was that meme when he got drafted that said weaknesses, and it was like offense, defense, shooting, passing, rebounded, and they were like, what does he even do? The answer is everything. That's what he does. The last game I want to play today is called Dribble. I know there's other games out there, by the way, but these are kind of my 4 favorite. Basically in this one, you just got to connect the teammates, and every single day I get into one teammate. And if I don't, I redo it until I get into one teammate. So we're looking at Andrew Wiggins, who of course we got the Timberwolves and the Warriors. Porzingis, you got the Knicks, Mavericks, and Wizards. Immediately when I think of those two teams, I think of the Warriors and Wizards and think Otto Porter. But Otto Porter been gone from Washington for a minute. I do not believe he played with Porzingis. And nobody else comes to mind, so I'm going to think about it and get back to you. We talked earlier about Joakim Noah. And another guy on those teams that I always despise so much, they used to say, nobody could hate Derrick Rose. When he dropped 50 points for Minnesota, they used to say, nobody can hate on that. I was hating on that. Derrick Rose stole MVP from LeBron in 2011 just because everyone hated LeBron. I was mad. He never deserved it. Now, he's a great player. It's unfortunate his career folded the way it did, with the injuries and such. And I can respect that he's a good player and a nice guy. But the dude was a rival, man. I can't root for him. And of course, he had a couple different stints with the Knicks in which he played with Kristaps Porzingis. So we get the answer in one is Derrick Rose. So that's all I got for this video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed having some fun with me doing something different. I should have said the date. I hope people aren't mad that I spoiled it. If you already commented that I spoiled it for you, I apologize. Maybe I'll put it in the title. Probably not though, because I like to keep the title to searchable terms. You know what I'm saying? So people could find the video. But if you did find the video, I appreciate you. So leave a like if you enjoyed, and also comment if you want to see more of these. I have no idea if people care about these. I have no idea if people are gonna watch, but I do it because I have fun. So hopefully you had fun too, and I'll see y'all next time.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.